So let's talk about these paintings. First of all, that the one on the top left there.
This one?
Yeah, tell me about it.
This is a cold wax medium. It's a medium that you buy, which is a mixture of beeswax and Damar varnish, and you mix it with oil paint. It's done in layers, many layers of many colors, and then you can start. I like to scratch back into it to reveal some of the colors below, and you can make marks in it so that different things will show up, and
it's
the
very
motivation appears.
It's very lively, isn't it? It's got a lot of.
It's lively. I like to think of that one. My friend said it looks like a railroad crossing, so I named it at the crossing. And some of these colors were previous layers, and I scraped them off, and then I could reapply them in other places. I like art that evolves as I go along. I don't always have I never have a definite idea of what I'm going to do. It works better if I don't. I'm a process person, and so I enjoy the process of doing it. This is another cold wax painting, and I had the wall where I was hanging these were very dark, so I did a series of white paintings so that they would show up.
To brighten yourself
Coming
up.
from Minnesota, it reminded me of the snow.
Which is your favorite style? There's two or three different styles of art here.
Encaustic is probably my favorite right now.
And what actually what does it entail, the encaustic style?
It's painting made with beeswax and Damar resin and oil paint, but which is almost the same ingredients as this, except this is done with heat. That's applied cold, so you apply it and it stays where you put it.
It almost has a style of enamel.
With encaustic, you apply the layers, and then you have to fuse it. You have to heat it so that it melts with the previous layer, and sometimes it floats away. I did this painting during Hurricane Andrew last year. I had a daughter who was going to college in Florida, and she was anticipating the hurricane and very excited, and then it didn't happen. It started out to be a boat, but in the heating process it sort of melted away, and a figure appeared. So I thought, I call her blowing in the wind. And it still has the feeling of a hurricane, but the image has changed. I like the whatever that word is, of encaustic. This is also encaustic, but it has altered papers embedded in them. You scrunch up a photograph and break the clay coating on it and rub olive oil into it. So it looks very old and like it's ancient, and I adhered it to my painting. I had found these camels in a magazine. I was reading an article about Australia. So I put the camels on, and then I just drew a few more camels in, and kept the hot desert colors, and found a Cadillac hubcap for moon, sun, whatever. This is also an encaustic, and this is done on handmade paper, so the approach is a little different.
Did you make the paper by yourself, by hand?
Yes. And this is one of the first encaustics that I did when I was just learning the process, how to work with textures and transfer images and that sort of thing.
How long would a piece like that take to make?
Pardon me?
How long would a piece like that take to make?
It can take months. It can take days, depending on how just like any art. It can be immediate or it can take very long. This is also an encaustic done on handmade paper.
Is there like a drying process between each layer?
Well, with encaustic, as soon as it hardens,
Right.
but you have to fuse it to the layer below. So as soon as you've finished your final fusing, it's done, unless you decide to add more, which I usually do. I've been known to take paintings off the wall and redo them.
I've got to ask, which is your favorite of these?
My favorite. I guess that's this one. For the encaustic, I like this one for the cold wax. And these two are my favorite acrylic paintings. Those are done with, that one is done with tissue paper and acrylics. And you crinkle the tissue paper and adhere it. And I like to work with many washes. And then as you wash colors over it, images appear. And I seem to see birds. I have this big tree right outside my dining room window, and a lot of birds live there. So that's what it became. But this one also is a tree. The same sort of process done with tissue paper. And this is just, I walk a lot, and I like to walk in the woods, and it gives me this feeling of being very small. So that's what I like about that one. And this one is just fun. I wasn't sure what it was, and then at one time I deflated vertically. But people like to have a more literal grasp on a painting, so I turned it around and it seemed more like a landscape, more acceptable.
Yeah.